Hi everyone. So welcome back to Rebirth a Gift. I am Stacy Benton and I am the author of this highly anticipated novel, Rebirth a Gift. And I just want to thank you guys for coming back. If you have been watching the channel, definitely want to encourage you to continue because I know that you are serious about your transformation. You're very involved in this process of healing. So, if this is your very first time, I just want to encourage you that you're at the right place, that this channel is going to help you to rediscover your most authentic voice, but also to help you through this transformation process. Now, as you guys know, on my channel, I keep it very authentic. I do not edit videos or anything. So, one thing that I like to stress on my channel or on this channel is just authenticity, just being genuine. And I try to do that to the best of my ability. It is definitely not about perfectionism. Okay, so it's all about bringing your most authentic self. Many of you, millions of you, are still going through your transformation, so you're still rediscovering yourself, separate from the trauma you've actually experienced. So this is really a great time, and just when it comes to from a humanistic perspective, to really start to awaken to your true self, to really awaken to who you are, who you were predestined to be. What is your purpose? What is your destiny? What are you here for? And my really niche is really just focusing on individuals that have gone through some very difficult experiences, very traumatic experiences, or complex trauma. And I've been reading from the novel and just really giving you guys a deeper insight into the paradigm that really surrounded the main reason why I wrote the novel, but also the deeper concepts, the deeper conceptualization of what this book is about. What is this novel about? And it's deeper than just a novel. And we were going through the sections on the previous channel, on the previous video. So please go back and watch all the videos. Watch it as many times as you feel necessary, because it's going to really help you to understand and comprehend and bring all the broken pieces of your soul, of your psyche, of your consciousness, of your humanity back into to rediscovering your true identity, your most authentic voice. Because when you go through very just excruciating experiences, it has a way of really transforming someone in the opposite direction. And sometimes you can continue on that trajectory until you absolutely just become more aware and have a higher level of consciousness to say that, well, this is not really the avenue that I want to go in my life. Like, I'm ready to turn around and pursue a different path, because I have dreams and aspirations. I have goals I want to accomplish. I have life goals I want to accomplish. And I am you are finding it very difficult to absolutely create that life or that lifestyle that you're yearning for. And a lot of times, you can internalize more than you should. But however, really just admitting the reality and facing the reality of what you have gone through is empowering. It's nothing to be shameful about. It's nothing to blame anyone about. It's really to help you, to force you to take a closer look within your own soul states, with your own decisions, and taking an accountability. It does not mean that you are diminishing your trauma or the individual that was the abuser, or the bad choices you made as a result of the trauma. So it's no longer about blaming and shaming and guilt. So if you are on this channel and you are about that, you want to come on this channel to just gather information, to shame someone, to blame someone, then you're on the wrong channel, and you're going to feel very, if you are human, meaning that you have a human consciousness, you're going to see that it's not going to work here, because this is a very higher vibration, and it's all about uplifting you. It's all about encouraging you and challenging you in a way that's going to be productive. So if you are willing to listen at the content in a way where your mind is being challenged and your consciousness is being pushed to a higher state of rediscovery, of re-examining, reframing your own abuse. Because an abuser was abused. It's a generational problem. This is a multi-generational issue. And I just want to encourage you that if you're on this channel and your intentions are not to be transformed, if your intentions are not to get the help that you desire, if you're so dead in the inside that you cannot listen with an open mind, then you're not going to be interested anyway. So for you guys, just keep the comments. I trust you to keep the comments good, encouraging, uplifting, expressive, but respectful. And we have all been in that space or in that place or that time in our lives where we're not the best version of ourselves. Everyone has gone through that. But on this journey, it's about the transformation. It's about embracing your complex trauma, acknowledging it, dealing with it, transforming it. And I did see on the other video, I wanted to, let me pause here because I want to look up that definition of what is complex trauma. What is that terminology? What is that all about? And on a deeper level, because I think that building this foundation is going to really open up your understanding of what you're experiencing in your life, why, or you're in this sunken place. Because many of you are in a sunken place. You're not at the level of your highest potential. Many of your gifts, your talents, your skills, your creativity, you are operating below that level. And because you have trauma, you've been inflicted with complex trauma, you can find yourself continuously being in that sunken place, or operating or living or existing in a way that's beneath you. And as I'm thinking, I'm going to pause here, but give me one moment, you guys. All right, so I am back. I miss you guys already, know. But just on a more serious note, I wanted to give you guys the actual definition of complex trauma. And so complex trauma usually occurs as a result of repeated trauma experienced by a child or young person, although it can also occur as a result of experiences as an adult. Some people experience trauma across their lives. Also, complex trauma describes both children's exposure to multiple traumatic events, excuse me, often of an invasive interpersonal nature, and the wide-ranging long-term effects of this exposure. These events are severe and pervasive, such as abuse or profound neglect. Long-term effects. Okay, so complex trauma is that when you have experienced prolonged over a duration of time. So normally, statistically, it starts in childhood, and then as you experience that trauma or that traumatic event in your childhood, like abuse, like molestation, like neglect, or losing a parent, or having to see your parent or someone you love suffer with mental illness or addiction, neglect, not in poverty. All of these can adversely impact a child and inflict trauma upon them. And what that do in return is that it can alter their brain. It can alter their way of thinking and experiencing life. And it can also um, adversely just influence them in so many negative ways. And let me charge my laptop here. And so complex trauma is very devastating for a child. And many children it's becomes very challenging for them to bounce back or to get over those experiences. And even if a child goes through therapy or they have intervention early on, it still can impact their lives and their adulthood and the actual decisions that they make as an adult. And it becomes very devastating for them. Very devastating for them. And it's really sad because when I think about my own experiences with childhood abuse, I can see that as I grew up, the devastating impact it had on my life, just in general, not only psychologically, but spiritually. And all of those elements impacts the soul, the soulical realm. And that's your mind, your will, and your emotions. And the person that I am today, that's so passionate, that's so confident, that is so authentic, it took years of transformation, decades, to really evolve or transform and change into the individual that you see now or you're hearing now. And this is still a continuous journey. So I'm never a person just like this is how it's going to always be. Because as long as you're on the earth, you should be growing and changing for the betterment, not only for yourself, but for those that you love and also for humanity. So it's a continuous progression. But I do remember that there was a huge gap between the childhood experiences and also now as an adult. And many of you are going through those challenges now. You're putting the pieces of your life together. And complex trauma starts in childhood, and that's why in the very beginning of the book, the conception part 1 is titled Conception, because everything starts in the beginning. There's a beginning for everything. And it's so easy to overlook the foundation. And disregarding that foundation is absolutely detrimental to your elevation in life, your progression in life, your transformation. And if you are stuck in denial, then you're going to see that your life is going to be stuck. It's going to reflect the fact that you have not really dealt with your trauma. And you may have certain skills or abilities or talents, gifts that you can kind of ride on. But on a deeper level, there are other areas that it's not balancing in your life. And if you have turned into a covert individual that's very hidden, a covert type of person, a covert narcissist, where you can't even face your own trauma because it's too painful. So you remain hidden within yourself, hiding like a child that was inflicted the trauma. You haven't really grown past that. You haven't been able to really embrace who you really are. You're at your true identity of what your human spirit, your own humanity resonates with. Because that is the foundation. So as you see in the novel, when you guys get your copy, you're going to see that part 1 is conception. And I did read the very first passage and really explain that on the other video. So go back and watch that, you guys. And I'm going to read also the back, just the first paragraph when it comes to the actual synopsis. And then I think we're going to shift a little today, because there's another topic that I want to address as well. So, REBIRTH-a Gift is a family saga captivating the reader into a drama-filled story of emotional and spiritual intensity, meticulously igniting fury, empathy, and compassion for victims of complex trauma. A woman's feminine essence is powerful, beautiful, graceful. One's intuitively true intrinsic nature and spiritual power is unleashed, becomes unstoppable. Metamorphosis into the woman always imagined, despite enduring life difficulties and traumatic events, is extremely overwhelming, confusing, and frustrating, yet an epitome of endowment. Femininity is embracing truth with humility and conquering obstacles with an intriguing ferocity. Resilience is hidden behind the veil, the mask of disguise adorned as protection. So just as a woman, and this is the perspective of the protagonist, is female. But also, if you are a male and you're attracted to this or led to the channel, this applies to you. The feminine nature or the masculine nature is an essence of who you are. But when you have endured like trauma, complex trauma, very difficult childhood experiences that you are so shameful to discuss with someone or open up to someone because it's so painful for you, you will find yourself really, it is very difficult to become that person you see, the vision that you have for yourself. So what you do is that there's resilience is still there. There's a resilience-ness in you. Because you wouldn't be here today if you didn't have a resilient nature. But because you have not completely healed from that trauma, you are wearing a mask. And that mask is a face, is a false identity. That mask is a false identity because you have lost touch of your most authentic self. And this mask, it goes both ways. And I know many of you are seeking for answers. You're looking up like empath and super empath and narcissist and things of that nature. But an empath can wear the mask just as a narcissist. And I will be dealing with that on this channel as well. There's so many layers. Oh, many layers. And you're trying to metamorphose or change or transform into this woman or this man that you imagine, that you know you have the potential to become. But you're finding yourself, you're still feeling overwhelmed and confused and frustrated because you haven't had the courage or the strength yet to strip off the mask that you're wearing. Because sometimes it's so easy to operate under a hidden persona. And that's why the mask that Opal wears is so symbolic. However, once you heal, you will begin to notice your true powerful self, your true beautiful self, your true graceful self. And for men, your true masculine self, your true strength, your true courage. That's why healing is so vital to this transformation. So femininity is embracing truth with humility. And when I wrote this, oh wow, I was thinking of all the women that I grew up with, all the women that I saw, all the images that you see on TV, and you see outwardly, externally beautiful women. But inside, they are broken souls. And I was intrigued with this notion that how can someone be so beautiful and seem like they have everything, but in the inside, but in their soul level, they still seems broken and unhappy. And they have not really embraced their truth. It's like running from it instead of embracing it. That's where your true empowerment comes from. Embracing the good, the bad, the ugly, learning from it, transforming as a result of it, digging deeper into the deeper levels of your humanity, Not just your femininity or masculinity, but also just being human, that soul realm. And being human, humbled, having that humility to say, I can no longer hide from myself, from my pain of my past. Conquering obstacles with an intriguing ferocity. How can I be humble but also conquer this? How can I be ferocious? Ferocious. Oh my gosh. How can I have a ferocity? I am so sorry, you guys. I think I had a long day. But anyway, how can I have a ferocity or be ferocious? Thank you. It came the right word. How can I conquer these obstacles that I'm dealing with? Instead of hiding behind my external beauty, which is nothing wrong with being beautiful. But how can I embrace both aspects, outer beauty and inner beauty? What's wrong with that? Why is so much focus is on the external and not enough internal? Because many females, many women are hiding behind masks of pain. They're hiding because they've gone through traumatic events. Because the actual statistics reflect it. The acts of violence against women. But there's a higher connection or higher level of resiliency that's hiding behind the mask. Once you guys begin to heal and restore and rebuild and transform, then you're going to see that you no longer need the mask. You no longer need to hide. You can embrace grace and humility and being able to be vulnerable. Not projection or projecting what's wrong, but being able to articulate yourself, because now you have gone through a healing process. You've done the internal work. You're still doing the work, and you're no longer hiding behind the mask of beauty. Because this mask can be symbolic of many things. Money could be a mask. Outer beauty. Intelligence. Physical strength. So it's like you push that in the forefront because that's what you're good at, or that's what you get positive affirmations from. But when you're by yourself, when you're alone, really tells you a lot about what's really going on a deeper level, on a subconscious level. So how do you feel when you're by yourself, when you're alone? Are you so numbed out? Are you so distracted that you're not connected on a deeper level to yourself, to your consciousness? And there is resilience hidden behind the veil. There's resilience. There's something beautiful that's hiding deeper. Once you begin to dig up and resolve the traumatic childhood experiences, and again, this is a daily process. This is why I give you guys daily instructions, okay? Daily exercises. And on this exercise, I want you guys to journal and think about on a deeper level in a quiet space during your quiet time, what are the masks that you are wearing? What are you seeing that you're hiding behind that's keeping you from being so vulnerable with the ones that you love and the ones that you trust? What's the mask you're hiding behind that's keeping you from tapping into your true humility? So I want you guys to journal. What is that mask for yourself? And then I also want you to dig a little deeper, and I want you to identify what is the mask that you're seeing other people wear. And this is going to cause you to be more observant of human behaviors. And also more in touch with your own thoughts and emotions. So that is the instruction or the assignment or the exercise for today. And I want you guys to really take this seriously. And really dig deeper. So what I'm going to do, I had something I wanted to really share with you guys that's been on my heart. And I really am very passionate about women causes and children advocacy and women advocacy work. And we're leading up to Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is in October. So what I'm going to do from now leading into October, well, all the way, to the end of October, is just every day we're going to discuss and talk about just some topics when it comes to domestic violence and the problem, the epidemic that is going on right now in society, not only in the United States, but on a global level, from a global perspective. And it is very disheartening when I think about it. And this is a topic I'm very passionate about because just as a woman, the actual statistics will show that one out of three women is going to experience a level of sexual assault every day. 1 out of 3 women. As far as the domestic violence cases, there are over 10 million people, 10 million, that experience domestic violence. And this is in the U.S. This is just in the United States in a year. And I'm going to repeat that. There are 10 million people that experience domestic violence in the U.S. each year. 10 million. And I know that this is a topic that don't make anybody feel good. But if you think about all the cases that's happening, you can't even keep up with the domestic violence cases against children, against women. Domestic violence, it can also be violence within the community. It's still domestic violence. It's still violence. And one thing that really troubles me is that it doesn't have to be this way. Like if we can just consciously awaken our humanity, if we could just consciously tap back into our humanity. And this is why I really am passionate about this channel and about this type of advocacy work, is because it forces you to tap into your own human consciousness, your own soul, and question your own humanity. And I know that it is very easy to blame. And this is why I want to really diminish this word blaming. Just blaming other people, blaming yourself, blaming society, blaming the offender or the abuser, which they do, or they are parts in this. But I'm also very concerned with how imbalanced the system is. This is a systemic issue. And as you start to see it and kind of just, if you just simply just on YouTube, or you just the current news that's happening in your city, you will see that, or in your country, or in your town, you will see that this is a major issue. And why are the numbers just going up? What is going on that's keeping the consciousness of humanity, both male and female, or just on a humanistic perspective? What is keeping this cycle in place? What is the system? What is the systemic issue? And I know that I've definitely read some journals and articles that poverty, criminal history, having dysfunctionality in your families, multi-generational issues and abusive situations, all of this plays a part in the amount of domestic violence that's happening, not only in our lives, even if you personally have not experienced, just say, a grotesque amount of domestic violence, meaning that you didn't have to go to the hospital, or you wasn't admitted to a psych ward as a result of the trauma. However, you are very familiar with someone that has experienced this level of trauma in oppressive. This is oppression at the highest order. The oppression that comes with what women are experiencing and enduring. And when I think about it, when I was in college, I really was very passionate. It would anger me when I would hear the stories, the horrific stories, not only that I saw growing up, but also I continue to hear these horrific stories of acts of violence. Okay, because I am a woman against women. And I couldn't understand why this pattern, this cycle, this generational, multi-generational cycle continues, not only in our community, but in our world. That's why I identified it as an epidemic. And I just remember I would be so troubled that I would just sometimes just cry and be so triggered emotionally when I would hear these stories. not including my own experiences with these situations on a personal level, but also what I saw, what I witnessed. And I couldn't quite wrap my mind around, even though I also came from, I experienced adversity as a child. I experienced abuse as a child. And when you're in college, you really just really on a path of self-discovery. However, you're trying to put the pieces together. You're trying to make sense of the nonsense. You're trying to understand how can things of this nature happen. And I got vivid stories, vivid memories. And I know that this is why when I wrote the novel that I had to incorporate elements of what I witnessed in a very vivid way in the fictional characters in the novel, because I couldn't understand how can this type of behavior continue. Like, what is the definitive moment where humanity begins to understand that our women, that our children, that our young adults, our young men, our young women, just on a humanistic level. And again, I do address all humanity. But at what point are we going to stop looking at the external identifications and start to dig deeper into the deeper consciousness, going beyond the veil, going beyond the mask, and seeing what are the true issues here? How can we address those? How can we save or prevent or intervene in these types of situations in a way that reduces the infliction of the pain and the agony that not only the victims experience, but their children, their loved ones? And the acts of violence against women and children is absolutely devastating. So when did we lose as a human race, as a human species, our humanity? Because we're all part of a collective society. And I really just am really deeply troubled in how can this continue? How are we, if we say that we're human beings, how can we continue to allow a broken system to miss the ball on so many levels? I mean, case after case, women going through the system, doing the right thing, only to be put back into the hands of the abuser. And and this abuse, it starts early on. It starts way before that female becomes an adult, or that woman becomes an adult, or that man becomes an adult, or before the transgender becomes an adult, because we're all human here. So how do we begin to address these issues? Because even past the exterior, what is our soul level like as a human race? And I was just reading a story, and this is what really just prompted me to take to really talk about or discuss this today, was that a young woman, age 18, had her own child, a little girl, and she ended up in a relationship with a guy, and I think it was in Florida. And as a result, this man plotted and schemed with his mother to murder. I'm not trying to trigger anyone, but to end her life. I'm going to say that, end her life, because she reached out for help. She put a restraining order. She did everything to try to make sure that she is safe, to protect herself. So he plotted, they had the text messages. He plotted with his mother to bombard her, to really come to her job, invade her privacy, invade her work area or her work environment. He looked for her, sought her out, had so much animosity, so much rage and anger, and ended up ending her life at work. And when you think of that, what is the imbalance that's going on? And that's just one situation I could just think of right now. What is the imbalance that's happening? How can this system be restructured? And it's not saying that every single person, well, let me backtrack that. There's two sides to this issue. There's two sides to this issue. There's the victim and the abuser, the violent one. But how is this dance between these two is ending in death? How is this continuously to be unfolding into ending of someone's life? The female's life. Or the male's life. There are stories where men also. The statistics is more for women, but there are also men. And there is something on a deeper subconscious level, on a deeper subconscious level that's going on. And when are we going to say enough is enough? When is there going to be a integration of the systems in a manner that's going to ensure that if a woman or a man seek out, or a human being, we're going to just say human being, seek out help, go through the system trying to get assistance to preserve their life, when is there going to be enough compassion and sense of urgency to ensure that women or any human being, if they are going through the system, are not harmed or put back into harm's way? When is it going to be enough is enough? And the moment you say that, oh, I'm ready to, let's just end this, then your life is in danger. How as the demise of humanity has been diminished so little to such a diminished state, to the point where if you just say you want to end the relationship, then you have to fear or operate in a level of fear just because you want to walk away for something that is toxic. There's so much acts of violence that happens on so many levels. And when you are going through a situation where you are traumatized as a result of childhood trauma, or traumatized as a result of a domestic violence situation, you're fearing for your life. You're fearing for the life of your children. You're trying to exist in this type of environment where the demise of the consciousness of humanity is so overwhelmed with trauma, traumatic events, environmental trauma, relational trauma, family trauma, work environment trauma. All of this is weighing on the consciousness of the human race. And no matter how much anyone tries to ignore it, even if you click off this video right now, it's still not going to change the fact that you know someone that is experiencing this, or have heard of it in your own family, in your own work environment. The cycles of abuse has to be stopped. And it starts first with you. It starts first with humanity getting back connected to a deeper consciousness. And as you start to uproot the pain and the suffering in your own soul, you will have more empathy for another soul or another human being. As you start to connect back to your soul, then you're able to connect back to the creator, the creator of the heavens and the earth, the infinite one. You're able to connect back on a deeper level and find the healing and the restoration to stop the cycle. It's like starting inwardly, outwardly, then addressing the systemic issues, the systematic issues, the domestic violence cycle, because it's a cycle. That even if a man, and this is an example, even if a male says, okay, I want to change, even if they're able to just find a little glimmer of light in their soul to say, I don't want to do this anymore. I need to leave. I need to exit out of this situation. I need to reach out to help because I don't want to do this. Because there's something deeper within that's causing this level of rage and anger, but I don't know what to do with it. So I have, on a societal level, we have accepted that, okay, instead of reaching out for help, individuals are afraid. That something worse is going to happen. What if the male says, okay, well, I want to change this. I don't want to act out this level of violence. I want help. What if we're starting to interject information, preventative, that, okay, if you are a male, make it acceptable to say, take a step back, walk away, leave her alone, cool off, reach out for help. There's a hotline for therapy, or just to talk to someone so you can reduce that anger and get to the root of the problem. What's wrong? What happens in your childhood? Get back to your human side, your soul state. And this is what I have seen over my years of experiencing trauma and violence on multi levels. Experienced and witnessed. This is a major issue. So when is it going to be enough? It's just enough. Like, when are we going to really, as a society, as a human race, on a humanistic level, just really start to deal with these situations? And it really makes my soul sad that there's really nothing in place to balance the system. There's nothing in place to really positively influence a different direction. Identification of the problem. I think that as a society, on a humanistic level, we understand that it is a problem. We know that it's a problem. And this is something I've been really thinking about deeply. How is this continuing? Why are the numbers continuously going up? Why can't we find a preventative measure that would disrupt this cycle, not only on the female perspective or the victim, but also the abuser? Forcing them to get help. And I know that they have anger management classes, but usually if a person is already in a place of anger, then there's a deeper issue going on. Sometimes that person could be the victim, and now they are defending themselves. When did it come to the fact that a domestic violence issue has been diminished to just a number? A number. And victim after victim after victim after victim are finding their loved ones, are finding them in some very devastating circumstances, where violence and rage is definitely can be a defense mechanism. Fight mode can be a defense mechanism of protection. But when are we going to get to the point where enough is enough? That even though this is a heavy topic, this is a issue that an epidemic issue. And I'm going to look up epidemic. An epidemic is a widespread occurrence of an infectious disease in a community at a particular time. Or it could be occurring widely in a community at a particular time. And it mentions disease or plague, but we're not talking about the virus here. Has this become a disease? Does there comes a point where deeper research needs to be done? That is this a more systemic issue that now it has become a disease upon humanity? Domestic violence, ending someone's life, engaging in acts of rage out of not defensiveness or protecting yourself or someone you love, but it is inflicted on that person because that makes you feel empowered. You're not defending yourself. Sometimes change can be so difficult, but it is necessary. It is necessary. And I want to read the very first part of the novel, because when I'm talking about violence, family violence, witnessing extreme acts of rage or too much aggression in restraining someone. And I know you can have a change of heart or a change of consciousness or a change of mind to understand that acts of violence in any nature is not, it does not help society. So the first chapter reads, lightning striking from the sky left a ringing roar in the darkened atmosphere. Unsympathetic cry of the earth backfiring against a relentless animosity in nature captured our souls. Merciless, the rain foreshadowed a life engulfed in complexities. Motionless in the rain reverberated a stillness as if time ceased to exist. Every streak of light revealed and uttered vulnerability, speaking a prophetic language from the heavens. Confusion was quite evident and vivid if could stare into enlarged eyes pierced with fear and see through eyes of a lost child. Tormented gaze exposed a relentless and hopeless brokenness. Perplexed, the circumstances unfolding and witnessing on that dreadful night is a premonition to the mental anguish imparted. Watched in horror at a defenseless age of 5, captivated by her desperation, as a life-altering fear gripped a young soul, ripping away any residue of humanity, foreshadowing of a feminine state that was raw and real. One that is visited again in a toxic bloodline, generational curse of a fragmented coexistence, sealed a twisted identity. Chaotic in a symbiotic state, a peculiar woman recognized as a stranger, violently snatching to be released from the imprisonment, strategically bound, is a haunting image. An old beige project housing, surrounded by a cement walkway, iron poles with wires attached for hanging laundry, interconnected by graveled roads, progressed outward in opposite direction, became an oblivious foundation of a callous existence. Isolated, desolate place in the New Orleans, Louisiana was where it all began. Creation of a fragile human. And I'm going to stop there. That's just the first section. And I just felt like that was just so timely to share that with you guys because we're dealing with some very heavy issues. And I know that that's my purpose, that's my assignment. And I have so much compassion and passion for victims of complex trauma of any nature. And in that very snippet of the book, you see that the environment that the main character was quickly thrust into created a lasting image that as a result she became at that very moment of witnessing that experience, she immediately became a fragile creation of a fragile human. This is where it all began. So conception is going back to where it all began. And if you have experienced any form of domestic violence in your family, this is a time where you have to go back to where it began. Because you can no longer deny your pain and suffering of what you saw in your childhood, what you saw inflicted upon the innocent. And I'm going to go a little deeper here. Even if you were the person that inflicted pain upon someone else, are you recognizing that guilt or that feeling of inner turmoil? Are you allowing that to induce the change that is needed within you? Because the pain and the suffering that you saw in the eyes of someone, or a traumatic event that you experienced, as in the very first page of this book, as I just read, it is describing or identifying where the main character, Opal, experienced her trauma, where it all started. That's why conception is the origin of everything. When did this fragile creation or this fragile human being started to be created? Where do you see that your soul was inflicted with a wound that was so hard that you run from? You can't even revisit that time. So this is why you're on the channel. This is why. And I'm going to end that here. And I'm going to leave you with guys with that to really think about. And I'll see you on the next one.